Ahoy hoy and welcome. Time for another video. Probably the last one with a big beard, but there's reasons for that. Eventually I'm going to want to go abroad again, and that means getting a new passport photo, and frankly I'm not going to survive 10 years in the present political climate with this thing on my passport.
Hey, what are you doing? Right, if I'm not going, no one is. Spit it out. Gone down his neck. Trucking. No.
So, a trim will be in order. Video today is an interesting one. I've been asked a lot of questions. Where do I start with making a guitar? Now, the common thought is you start here. By buying a lump of wood. No. That's probably the worst place to start, because you're going to go wrong and get upset quite quickly. The next place to start is a kick guitar. Also, something I would not advise. I think the first place to start is a cheap and nasty guitar. Now, what do I mean by that? Is not the one your parents bought you, not the one that you worked all over summer and missed out on going on holiday for, not your dad's Gibson Les Paul. Don't mess with those. They're dear to your heart. Your father will kill you if you destroy his Les Paul. What you want is an absolute POS. That doesn't mean point of sale either. But where do you buy one of these is the question I secondly get when I say that's what you need to do. The place you don't get them from is a guitar shop. The place you do get them from is other places. So I've bought guitars from charity shops who don't know what they are. I've bought them from cash converters, interestingly, what should we call them? Reuse centres and recycling centres is the correct term now. The dump. You don't buy them from a guitar shop because they need to make their 40% and they know what they're talking about, so that's going to cost you more money. What do you need to look out for? That's an important bit. First of all, what are you going to use it for? You're going to use it, you're going to take it apart, you're going to start drilling holes, you're going to change the electronics, you're going to play around with it. So it doesn't need to be great. I've got three which I'm going to show you today, which I've bought from a dump, crack converters and a charity shop. One from each. All of them under £100, all three a bit different. And I'll tell you what to look out for. So first things first, the one to my left. What is it? What should you look out for? So first things first, what is it? Clearly, it's a Strat of some kind. So you know it's a Strat, it's got the three pickups, it looks like a Strat, it's got a bolt-on neck, it's even got a strap. The most important thing I think to look out for is the name. What is it? This is Gear for Music. Gear for Music, if you don't know or are outside the UK, is an online, affordable place to buy your guitar-y musical instruments and spares. It's clearly from made in China. There would have been at some point, oh no, there we go. We got a CE mark on it and a Ross stamp as well. don't look out for that, doesn't matter, because you're going to be taking it apart. What's it made out of? Timber wood, I think, probably. Second thing to look for, or I always look for, is the frets on a Strat, okay? These ones, I'll give you a close-up in a second, are quite tarnished. They've got a bit of green about them, so you know, an element of silver or copper in there definitely. Run your hand up and down like that. What are the edges like? That's really quite smooth, there's nothing there. Third thing to look out for. The action. Yes, you can play around with the action on the guitar, but if you're looking at a second-hand one, it should be good to presume that somebody's already at some point had a look at the action. If it's something dirt cheap like a Gear for Music guitar, it's likely to be one of those purchases that comes along at Christmas, somebody tries it out, dad tries to tune it, doesn't know how to tune it, they might have learnt 2 chords and you might have given up. So it may never have had a decent setup in its life. This one is absolutely covered in filth. The strings are pretty high up. Don't forget, you know, when you're going around shops, you can't really take measuring tools with you, so I'm not going to give you any measurements that you should be looking out for. Tuners, are they all there? Interesting thing, if there's a string missing, look at everything the string touches to see if that's missing. So, is there a tuner missing? Is part of the bridge missing? If you want to replace any of the saddles on the bridge or any of the screws, it's going to cost you. If it's like this one that's clearly been in a dump, a trem arm's amazing, but look for rust. Yes, you can treat rust and clean it up, and we probably will with this one, but that's a bit of a job. Does the selector work? Is the volume and tone knobs all there? That's a bit loose, not a problem. Something that's loose but still there you can fix quite happily. Are the screws all there? Is the neck bolted on? Not as important with this type of guitar, but with one of the others, is are there any cracks around the neck? There is one here, just in there. So we can have a close-up of that now. It's superficial and small. Remember, this is your junker guitar, it doesn't matter. So you're not looking for playability and action, you're not looking for anything special, you're looking for something to do up and learn about how guitars are made. This one I purchased for £10. 10. Yeah, that's nothing. Nothing at all. So you don't really care about a lot of the stuff. We can go through, we might do it with one of these guitars, start to finish, resetting it up and making it perfect. So that's it. The main thing, what is it? It's a Strat. What's the make? What are the frets like? Is there any wear? These are a bit rotten, but those can be cleaned up. What's the action like? Is anything missing? and is anything broken? Once you got those down, you know what you're looking at. If the action's too high and it's quite old, walk away, it's not worth it, frankly. I might have one in the garage that's just got terrible action. We saw one, I think I might have a photo of it, of a 70s guitar we saw in Carnaby Street on a visit, that just has the most astonishing action, which is about an inch high. But because it's a classic guitar, the price was still there for someone to buy. I wouldn't. Right, next guitar. Well, look at this. Super huge Epiphone hard case. Well, that's good news already. This is honestly how I found it. It had a price on it. Case is a bit worn. I was thinking this is going to be 335 or a 355 or 339. Semi-acoustic, something like that. Or maybe an acoustic in here. It isn't. It's an Epiphone Les Paul. It's just in the wrong case. So I admit I've done a bit on this already, but we'll be doing a bit more. It's more or less how I found it, but it shows us some things to look out for when people do up guitars. So the first thing I saw, it's a Les Paul. Second thing I saw, it's an Epiphone. And it says Les Paul model. And it has, we'll come back to the truss rod cover in a bit, because I'm not sure it's original. On the back of the neck, you will see, on this one, Epiphone limited edition, and more importantly, a serial number. Now, serial numbers on guitars, especially when they're main brands like Epiphone, Gibson, Les Paul, Ibanez, and such like, you can look up online. I looked this one up online. Have a look here. Which shows that it's a 1998 August. The 992nd guitar to come out of that factory then, and it's Korean made. Well, if you look into these things a bit better, that's a pretty good factory for the time, and for a 22-year-old guitar, it's doing quite well. When you're looking at a guitar with an angled headstock, even if it's slightly angled like this one, is to look at the back of the neck first, around the joint. People drop these, they fall over, and they crack. So have a look up and down, and feel as well, to see if it's been broken. You will see a crack. If it's cracked, if it's been cracked and fixed, and it looks bad, because no one's going to spend a lot of money doing up a Gibson, doing up an Epiphone, walk away. Second thing, look around the neck. The neck has a glue-in joint rather than a bolt-on one, so you want to make sure that there's no cracks here. There's a slight discoloration, a slight mark there of a crack through, but it does appear not to be too bad. People aren't going to be sanding these as well as sort of a custom made guitar, so you are going to notice slight joints and what have you, especially on a 22-year-old guitar. There are marks on it. Got a great big lump there where someone's dropped it, and a couple there. But I thought, wow, that's pretty good. You can also see where they've taken off the scratch plate. Screw mark there, screw mark there. Most interesting is you have binding on these guitars, and where the frets have come in, there's cracking. You've got 22 years worth of aging, of shrinking and growth of the frets, and plastic ages. That's to be considered for something this age. Even more so on the other side. If you're going to go for an expensive guitar, rather than one from the trash, like I go for, check out Trogly's or Philip Knight. They're a lot better at looking at expensive guitars. Frets again is the next important one. If you move the strings to one side, you can see the most played frets. So if the most played frets are up here and they've got a bit of wear, they're a widdly diddlier. I call that the dusty zone because frankly I hardly ever play up there. Down here is your your standard chords and bar chords. So there's a little bit of wear on the 2nd and 3rd fret. Not a lot. So that's pretty impressive. There's some wear on the switch. It's clearly been altered at some time. There's a lot of gunk around it. I should put some gloves on. And some things that I need to change, but I can show you here is something to look out for. The screws are different on the neck and the bridge pickup. These ones are gold, these ones are silver. No knobs, no scratch plate. Those are new. Some wear on the back, and rather obvious, yeah, some big gouges out here. And rather obviously, somebody has made their own covers for the back. If you see one like this, look it up on the internet and see what it should look like originally. That's not original. Another thing to check for, and the final one on this, because we've looked at the frets, I've looked at the action, which is very low, and there's still movement on the bridge here to move it up and down. The last thing to check for is the tuners. Look at the back. Now honestly, if I'd seen this when I was buying it, would I have bought it? I would think carefully. These tunes have been replaced. You can see marks where they've been filled in with the old screw heads, and somebody's coloured them in quite nicely. That somebody was me. Needs to do a better job of it. I find Les Pauls to go out of tune quite a bit. Lots of people do. So I purchased cheap locking tuners to put in their place, which means that you only have a small amount of string through the tuning pegs, less likely to move around. The last bit, which I mentioned quite early on, was the cover here. It says Gibson on it. That hits me as strange because it's not, it's an Epiphone. The second thing that hits me as strange is that it's bent and funny. You can see that it's not lying flat. So it's possibly not made for this guitar. At the price I got it for, I am willing to overlook all of this. And I got the purchase of a lifetime. No idea what these cost at the moment. Zap it up on screen, Gavin. I got this, was listed as £125 in crack converters. It was 20% off day, including the hard case. So I purchased this for £100. The best bit about it is I got home and I started taking bits off it to clean it up because it was slightly grimier than it even is now, and found that the bridge pickup was a Seymour Duncan 59, and this is the list price of a bridge pickup Seymour Duncan 59. There is no way I could have told that from outside. If you look at the pickups, you can see that one of them is right, the other one seems to have had a cover forced on it. I should have noticed that, but there we go. Apart from that, it's a grimy second-hand guitar for £100, and it's in rather good nick. I will be doing up a lot of this and showing you little tricks to do on that one. What I'd like to do is to get it back up to looking like new. Can't do that with all the grime on it, and I've already changed the tuners, but we'll do a bit more. I've already put another Seymour Duncan 59 in the neck, so they're a matching pair. Sounds beautiful, but still needs a bit more cleaning up. £100. Anyway, final guitar. This is the final guitar. I can't remember whether this was one from the recycling centre, not the dump, or what have you. Came with a bag. They threw in a bag. Be careful when you do buy things from second-hand places, especially crack converters. Hand on heart, I bought a guitar with a bag for a very small amount of money from crack converters once, and found a crack pipe and various paraphernalia in one of the pockets, which was a bit shocking. So it's a Fender padded bag. That's a good sign. This is not a Fender, and you don't get any prizes for guessing how much I paid for it either. This, I think it was the recycling centre. This was up on the wall, and I thought, well, okay, Aria Pro, interesting. Went through my lines. What is it? Okay, it's got an angled headstock first of all. Is there anything broken around the back where it falls over and goes whang? No, that's good. What are the frets like? A little bit of wear around 2 and 3, but not much. Just grimy from humidity and no use. What's missing? We've got a string broken. Okay. Think. Why is it broken? What's missing? Well, tuner's still there. That's good. And down at this end, it's got a built-in, just compensated bridge. So there's no extra bits to go missing. The rest of the string's still there. When I come down here, Ooh, Duncan designed pickups. Now, that means that they're not Seymour Duncan, but Seymour Duncan's designed them, or somebody in this factory. It means they're better than stock pickups, but only just. Down here on this bottom knob, you can see it's cracked. Now, what does that mean? There's a bit of sort of glaze in there. It means someone's dropped it at some point. Yep, and it's knackered. So we're going to have to change that knob eventually anyway. Not to worry, it's a knob. Nice bulge on that. We look at the timber. It's 1, 2, 3 part body, and the neck. Hello, that's different. Made in Korea. I will look up that number on the top if Aria Pro 2s are up there. If it's the same numbering system as before, that's a 97 in August, but I doubt life's that simple. Made in Korea. Quite a nice body, there's no scratches on it. Bolt-on neck with 3 bolts rather than the 4. And luckily the original covers, which never look like they've been removed. It comes with a strap. It's covered in dust. Nothing wrong with the binding. The frets are nice and smooth. The strings are absolutely filthy. And possibly, yes, if you look at the selector switch, that's not just a short selector switch, that's snapped off. So, probably going to have to change a pot. Definitely going to have to change the selector switch. Definitely going to change the strings and clean up the bridge. But the action is pretty darn low. And the headstock's good. So, out of the 3 there, I'll be honest, I think this is probably the pick of the bunch. You've got a lovely shaped body, non-boring pickups, small amount of work to do, and great fun. So, just to recap, when you go out shopping for the cheapest guitar possible for you to get some practice in doing electronics or filing, number 1, what's the make? Number 2, what are the frets like? Number 3, what's the action like? Number 4, what's broken on it? And check the neck. I hope that helps. I'm not going to tell you exactly where I live, so you can go to my junk shops, my cash converters where they don't know how to price guitars up properly. That's my secret. Apart from that, thank you very much for your questions. There are 2 guitars being made in the background over there somewhere, and another repair there. Also have a visitor coming over in 2 weeks' time. Who could it be? How long will they stay? Will we make guitars? Who knows? Apart from that, bye, and bye from the beard, because it's time for a trim, even though it's jolly warm and the weather is jolly cold. Anyway, toodle pip.